Hello and good evening. My name is Daniel Baumhardt, and this is Honors Biology. I want to give you an overview of our curriculum for the year and what your children are going to be learning about, how we're going to be doing that, how to get assistance, and expectations, and what you can do at home to kind of assist them. Um, the NGSS standards were incorporated, several years ago for science. And what there is in this is that there's a focus in shifting to a more three-dimensional way of learning, right? So not such a linear fashion. We have the science and engineering practices that are embedded within our curriculum and our presentation. We also have cross-cutting concepts, and then again, some biological life science core ideas. With that being said, the students are doing more figuring out and less learning about. All right, meaning that the students are become more self-directed problem solvers. I'm facilitating that process, and the biology class looks very different from how you and I experienced high school biology. So I think the kids are excited to kind of walk through the process. So the shifting of the practice has been, think about when we went to school, right? What we did before is we would cover a chapter or a unit on DNA. We do activities and lecture and kind of different worksheets and so on. And we take a summative chapter assessment. We would do the same for like a genetics unit, cover material, and then take a chapter test, and then an evolution unit. So separate and sort of in a linear fashion. What we're seeing here now in our storylining curriculum is that we hit on these topics, DNA, genetics, and evolution, all at the same time, and they're introduced to them throughout the storylines. And we do a lot of different formative assessments in context of real data and real data sets that have been collected in the field. We also then take summative assessments to see how the students are connecting between those three different areas, right? Those cross-cutting concepts and those strong application of the science and engineering practices. So it's a very different approach to how science is being taught and how kids are probably used to it. It's more inquiry-based and student-driven. This format lends itself awesomely to preparing your kids for all those rigors that are going to happen in the next few years, right? The standardized testing, ACT, SAT. So the data sets, contextual reading, the mathematics, the using of evidence, the analytical thinking, using authentic data sets and having the kids have to process and be literate and look for patterns are all things that are asked of them on the science portion of those standardized tests. AP coursework as well. The science practices are carried throughout all levels of science, and definitely are going to be retained between the introductory course that we're covering here and also maybe the AP level. And then finally, all your post-secondary courses, the workforce, being scientifically literate, right? Understanding the need for under a greater depth of understanding rather than just memorizing of facts, right? And just putting that information into practice is our emphasis this year. So we're sort of asking the kids to be open-minded and come prepared and willing to work and experience a new way of kind of rolling through some of the material. The expectations were sent home earlier in the week. You got an idea to see the materials, the expectations. And this week has been front-loading procedures and walking through how we're going to be doing things, right? So it's getting to know the students on a personal level. We've been doing icebreakers and things of that nature, but our course, the honors class in particular, for bio is a breakdown of 70% of their assessments. So that could be formative assessments, that could be summative assessments, that could be midpoints, that could be quizzes, that could be semester exam. That makes up the bulk of where we're at. And then the day-to-day work, the group work, the homework, any lab activities that we count are the other 30%. And we follow the straight, 90, 80, 70, 60 grade scale. Like I said, this week has been all about learning who these kids are and sort of getting them back acclimated to being full in person. So student information, doing some icebreakers, getting them to socialize and talk to each other, and then also as a class, sort of establishing collaborative learning. What does that look like, and establishing some norms. So how we're going to operate together as a group and as a class moving through these different learning activities. So what exactly are we going to be learning? Well, we have 6 different storylines. The first one we're in is Africa. It's about a 9-week unit. Then we'll finish first semester with a secondary unit on homeostasis. Second semester, we hit the melanin unit, disease, penguin, and lastly, the canine unit. Now, the good thing about all those, the NGSS standards that are addressed, that really need to be addressed in freshman level biology, are hit and covered in the Africa unit. So we're introducing them to a lot of different concepts here. And then we sort of build on, and we add to the depth of knowledge in the homeostasis and subsequent units. So thus far, we've set up Africa. The students have a spiral, which we serve as a field notebook. So we're going to be making entries into that. So up to this point, we've started Africa. And the Africa unit started with a phenomena video where they had to interpret and analyze and create some observations. From those observations, we've generated some questions, and the students and I, each class has created a driving question board. And in here, we're asking questions based on those observations, and then those will be explored further throughout the entire Africa storyline. So get them thinking critically into what's going on and why is it going on. And then we get into the actual, sort of real data sets. So right now, today, we just started Life as a Hunter, where the kids are asked to sort of calculate energy loss and energy gain for lions hunting solo versus the group. So it's an interesting kind of dynamic, but it's setting the stage for the rest of the unit moving forward. So as we progress through Africa, we get into populations, we get into some genetics, population densities, a little geography, DNA. We look at microsatellite data. We look at phylogenetic and other sorts of high-end data sets that are actually real, right? These are collected from real scientists doing research in this area. So, their ability to interpret and analyze the data and kind of work with different data sets in a progression is a challenge, but the kids have a great time with it. And I'm looking forward to them being able to apply their knowledge in a variety of different formats. Communication for our class is absolutely critical. We define those norms for collaborative learning, but the students themselves, their group, not everything's group work. Some of it's individual, but there's a lot of communication that has to happen within the group dynamic in class. All students need to be responsible for part of that learning process. So contributing to the group, sharing, listening, working through a task, understanding, stopping and going back and checking up on each other, and understanding and creating and building an understanding as a group. Students also need to keep organized with their binder. That was part of the materials. So I hope that this weekend everybody can kind of get that taken care of. The more material, or the more sooner we get the materials taken care of, the easier it is to keep together. So we got to have just a biology binder. And then again, that emphasis on the collaboration in small groups, right? So they're learning to think, which can be applied to any discipline in any situation. And then working on that collaborative communication piece is super important for them to accomplishing the tasks at hand. Tips and tricks for at home, or even just at home emphasis. Having them get organized and stay organized, keep that regular routine. Now we have the compass time built in on Wednesday where there's the late start, but the routine is kind of critical as they're getting back into the swing of being in school all day and then doing co-curriculars, that they're organized and they're writing down their homework and they're not procrastinating. So some of the assignments we ask them to complete by the next day, but sometimes they're multiple days out so that they work on it when they can. And there's time built into the day where they can do that. But then making that class time count, right? Participating in the learning group, exchanging, being efficient, staying on task and focus, absolutely critical. But today too, we've emphasized for them to exchange contact information so that they can, maybe text each other or reach out and just kind of bounce ideas off each other in terms of homework help and so forth. For you guys at home, I would think just asking about class, ask how things are going, what kinds of tests are up, tests and quizzes do you have coming up? Maybe take a look at the Google Classroom page. We're driving everything through there. They're getting a lot of paper documents, but we will put resources on there as well. Monitor their studies at home, keep their homework time and study time distraction free, so it's focused and efficient. And then encourage them to get help. There's going to be some struggle with this new way of putting together understanding of the life science content. And it's not the traditional, hey, lecture they're used to. So there's going to be this productive struggle. So encourage them to help, to get help if they need it, right? There's lots of different times built into our day where they can get assistance as well. With that being said, the getting help. We have a compass time that's built in between second and third period. That's Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Right now, the compass time is being used to front load a lot of procedural items and school related, understanding of what the dean's office can do, what the guidance can do. But eventually, it's going to be turned over to them to be used at their discretion, where they can meet with teachers and get help in a variety of different courses. I'm their number one resource. So I think if there's questions or concerns that, come talk to me first and see where the disconnect is, see what they're missing. Sometimes it just needs a little bit, another question or two to redirect. Students, and you guys can also message through Google Classroom. I've also set up the Remind app. So if you have that on your phone, I'll be sending something out about, how to sign up as a parent so you can kind of get updates as well. And then my email is great for them to reach out. They can reach out through Classroom, but if you feel like you need to contact me as well, my email is here, and voicemail as well will trigger a message where I can get back to you as soon as possible. Now, I know there's a lot of information being thrown at you, and I'm looking forward to a great year. The kids are off to a great start. I think we're we're going to have a very positive make their experience here at Lockport Central freshman year in honors biology, a positive one. And if you have any questions or concerns regarding our course or what's going on, feel free to reach out to me at any point. Okay. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you soon. Hope to meet everybody, and have a good evening. Thank you.